Our first big battle of the Lost Agent arc ended with an unprepared, though progressing quickly, Ichigo getting rescued by Yukio before Tsukishima could kill him, and our new villain reluctantly leaving, sparing everyone's lives. It was crazy, it was surprising, I went into it last video, it was nuts. But the introduction of Yukio's Fullbring abilities was great, and fitting given the only thing I really knew about him so far, his love of playing video games. I had already guessed that his Fullbring would be related to his handheld system, but I wasn't quite right on the specifics of it. Instead of pulling digital monsters out of his game to fight, he can pull people into the game. That's right. Welcome to Spy Kids 3D Game Over. Or Ready Player One, or those Jumanji sequels with The Rock, or Tron, or any video game or digital world reference joke I can think of. We're going inside of video games. And it's fun and creative, and I still love that Yukio literally saved Ichigo. It was a great little gag, and even bringing him out of it is loading him into the real world. I also love the name that he gave his Fullbring too, Invaders Must Die. Him being him, like the teenager that he is proclaiming that no one should enter his space, while also sounding like a video game itself, like Space Invaders or something. And the visuals in both the manga and the anime really enhanced the presentation of Yukio's abilities. It's the perfect kind of thing for a medium like this, and I like how it makes sense for his kind of character. He's just a spoiled gamer that doesn't want to do anything else. And that's not all we learned about Yukio either. When we first were introduced to Execution, it was mentioned that some of their members have enough money to afford their large headquarters and things like that. It turns out, Yukio seems to be that rich member of Execution. There may have been other wealthy people too, but at the moment, it seems like Yukio is the group's sole financial backing. It makes sense given his design, he kinda looks that way. He's got an ascot, or is that like a cravat or whatever, I don't know. And I figure that it's his money that helps keep first responders and witnesses quiet, like when they had to do after leaving the fight against Tsukishima, and Giriko said it was taken care of. At first, I assumed maybe Giriko could do something with his timer powers to keep the public from panicking, but I couldn't quite figure out how exactly a timer could help in that situation, so I'm just gonna assume it's good old-fashioned hush money in this case. Hell, maybe Giriko comes from wealth too. He's got the etiquette. Or maybe he's originally Yukio's butler even. I feel like that could make sense too. He could be the Alfred to his little gamer Bruce Wayne. And Yukio's kind of lazy, spoiled nature is on full display when he's told to help train Ichigo, and he's originally really not about that. But yeah, his powers let him put people in another digital dimension that he has complete control over. He can adjust the environment and even change the settings of the game, like creating health bars for the people that are inside. All in all, it seems potentially really, really powerful if he can put an opponent inside of it. It seems like he has more ability to manipulate it than Ruruka did for her dollhouse containers. And if he's fighting someone, I imagine it would be like him trying to build a level for his opponent to overcome, throwing all kinds of things at them. But for now, Yukio isn't getting too involved and just using his game as a training ground for Ichigo, and his instructor for this round of training, Ginjo himself. I've really been enjoying the kind of building trust or even friendship between Ichigo and the execution leader, and this solidified it even more for me. Given the environment, it made me think of when I used to play video games with my older brother as a kid, where he would usually beat me, but I'd still try to take him down over and over again, and some games I even could. This reminded me of that kind of feeling. It felt like there were two siblings, each with a controller, as the older sibling dispensed a beat down on the younger sibling in the game to help him improve. It just had that vibe. And Ginjo has that cool older brother feeling during this. For me, as a younger sibling that tried very hard to impress my older brother in video games, it made it even more satisfying of an end when Ichigo proves himself, because I've been there, Ichigo. I've proven my abilities inside of a video game before. I was also naturally reminded of Morpheus training Neo in the Matrix, it's this whole digital environment. Ginjo tricking Ichigo into admitting that he's fantasized about being inside of a video game was hilarious, by the way, but seriously, who hasn't? I used to dream of flying alongside my boy Peppy Hare. Outside of the video game world, some are still questioning who stabbed Uryu, and the characters are noticing how different it was from what happened with Orihime. I think I was definitely onto something with how these attacks are so different. They're drawing attention to it now. It's undeniable that what happened with Uryu was different than what happened to Orihime and what happened to someone else that we're about to talk about. When Orihime goes to the hospital to heal Uryu, she brings up that the person that attacked him might be the same person that attacked her, but when they compare notes, they obviously realize that their respective injuries, or lack thereof in Orihime's case, were very different. Unfortunately, Uryu didn't have a chance to get a good look at his attacker besides thinking that the weapon was his Zanpakuto. Still, there's definitely a major discrepancy of why one of them was physically harmed with no apparent mind tampering, while Orihime's cut wasn't visible, but her thoughts were clearly affected. There has to be an explanation for that. I loved Riruka meeting Orihime when Orihime goes with Chad to help with Ichigo's training. Riruka's crush on Ichigo hasn't exactly been a big secret, so it was fun to see her meet the woman that Ichigo kind of has a close to romantic thing with, but I loved Orihime reiterating that she would always heal Ichigo, even if it meant he would get hurt more after. It was just sweet. And the Orihime and Riruka interactions are just naturally interesting and pretty funny throughout, because like even when, it seems like Riruka might be thinking a little bit better of Orihime, she just can't quite get on the same page as her considering how close she is with Ichigo. Anyway, Orihime is allowed to enter the game to help with the training, and I loved her showing up for Ginjo to act like she was a health item. It's a little rude to just see someone as a walking healing potion, but funny too, and her abilities really come in handy with Ichigo really being put through it. He may be inside of a digital space, but that pain and that struggle, it's real enough. While Chad goes to a different level of the game to train, we learn that he was stabbed by Tsukishima. Yeah. I liked how this was depicted only in flashback form, where we didn't see it go down at the time. It helps reinforce that nobody else saw it, and it was similar to Orihime, where there was no physical injury. Very little evidence, except for Chad's memory to even know that it happened, but it did, and I'm nervous for him now. Unlike Uryu, Chad and Orihime both were stabbed and had those injuries disappear. We saw both of them being impaled by Tsukishima's blade, while Uryu's was off-screen and off-panel, so we don't have definitive proof of that being the same thing. The outcomes suggest otherwise, with Chad and Orihime sharing a very similar sensation, but it was hype when Orihime revealed how she and Chad had kept up their training all these months, believing that Ichigo would find a way to return. I absolutely loved this. These are two of the people closest with him, and they truly never gave up on him and had the initiative to keep improving themselves. Plus, with these two being Fullbringers themselves, they absolutely should be getting some focus. And it's a great moment that is also just a little bit creepy because they both could have been altered after being attacked. They still might be. So this is a hype moment, but there's an undercurrent of like, oh no, are these two good? Are they alright? Because I feel like they're not gonna be. He stabbed them for a reason, he made Orihime think of him as a friend for a reason. I also really dug that Ichigo visibly improved once Orihime was nearby because he has something to protect. We've seen that happen before, I'd say most notably when Ichigo got stronger against Grimmjow because he was protecting Orihime. And Ginjo turns out to actually be a very tough teacher. This brings me back to having an older sibling absolutely wallop you in a game. It's an important lesson to lose or to get absolutely destroyed in a game, only to just try harder to win. Sometimes that's the only way to improve. And there was an interesting moment where Ichigo thinks about how he can't feel what Ginjo is thinking like he usually can, and that it's not like when he felt that way while fighting Gin. If you remember back then, he couldn't get a read on Gin's intent because Gin was too focused on other things, like how he was gonna betray Aizen, or probably romantically thinking about Rangiku. But here, Ginjo doesn't seem distracted, and Ichigo still can't get a read on him while he could feel Tsukishima's murderous intent all over him when they were fighting. It's definitely a bit strange, but I hope it's just, that he's just kind of a hard person to read, because he is. There are moments where Ginjo seemed a little shady. and moments where he seems really cool and funny, and I like him. And this training kind of plays into that, and I think overall ends on a more positive note. But yeah, he really makes it tough for Ichigo, like real tough. He slashes Ichigo across the eyes, blinding him. Just the idea of a blade scraping over your eyeballs is one of those things that just makes me really, really uncomfortable, but this vicious blinding led to some great moments. Considering how horrible this was, Ichigo naturally is a little upset, and he's questioning Ginjo's motives and his loyalty and whether or not he can actually be trusted. And like, of course you'd be questioning that after he blinds you and is taunting you and is threatening your friends while he impales you. For a moment, it really did feel like a betrayal, but I kept holding on to the hope that it's just part of the training, and that hope paid off. See, Ginjo realizes that Ichigo's real power comes out when his loved ones are around or threatened, so naturally used that to put Ichigo in a desperate position, activating the next level of his Fullbring. He also apparently needed someone there to take the brunt of the energy that got released. Blinding him also forced Ichigo into a position where he had to be able to detect spirit pressure in order to see, another sign of his powers returning. It was all to help Ichigo improve. And all in all, I feel like this whole sequence was meant to endear us to Ginjo just as much as it was to progress Ichigo's training. Between the big brother vibes I was getting from him and the kind of tough teacher act that all led to him pretending to be bad, I feel like this just solidified him as a character that's not shady as much as he is just desperate and willing to do anything and say anything to see it through. In the first few chapters Ginjo was in, he was definitely meant to be mysterious, and I have been suspicious of him at times, but it feels like this is showing that despite his methods and despite his appearances, Ginjo can be trusted and is on the side of good. It's a relief because he's pretty badass and I think a good ally for Ichigo to have here in the living world. You know, he's got someone watching his back here while the Soul Reapers have kind of stayed clear. Ichigo's completed his Fullbring and he's welcomed into execution officially, which is really sweet, and it's a great moment to really feel that accomplishment of Ichigo. He's finally welcomed into their ranks as a true member now that he has his Fullbring completed. The way this Fullbring looked for a split second before it got shut down was pretty cool. So I'm happy for him. I think this training was really fun. I think it gave us some more insight into Ginjo as a person, and of course, yeah, a lot of video game stuff. I love this power. And while all of this training was going on, there was one other thing I took real note of. Isshin and Uryu are doing something with a Soul Reaper, or someone that at least looks like a Soul Reaper, and their spirit energy. The question is, who is that? My money is on Rukia, since she's such a major character for the series and we know something's going on with her because of that call through the badge. But I guess it could also maybe be like the Soul Reaper that was supposedly killed by Tsukishima. Maybe that's it. Maybe that person didn't actually die, and maybe Isshin and Urahara are more in tune with what's going on than we realize. I don't know, and I love that I don't know, because if there's one thing about the Lost Agent arc, it's the feeling of intrigue and mystery, and as Ichigo's growing stronger, the plot just seems to thicken. These were great chapters, great training, loved the progress from all the characters, just a fun setting. Loved it. Really good stuff. And that's where we're going to stop for now. In the next few days, I hope to do a reaction to Bleach Rebirth of Souls, to those trailers, to kind of keep with this video game theme. And my friend is going to make sure that sends it to me in a way where I'm not going to see any potential spoilers. It sounded like from what you guys told me there, I'm mostly good, that the game only covers what I've seen. We'll see. Hopefully I don't see any spoilers. I'm sure he'll do a good job vetting it. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel a bit more, please become a member. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll see you guys all next time as we continue into the Lost Agent arc of Bleach. Take care.